Welcome to Security Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk about all things security with AWS and our partners. If you want to hear about AI security, if you want to hear about zero trust, quantum, yeah, we got that. Like, you're in the right spot. You are here. We're going to cover everything today. Our partners do not know. I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about some of these goodies today. Make sure you join us every 2 weeks right here, Tuesdays, 8 a.m. Pacific. Also Black Hat, we're going to be at Black Hat. My producers just told me they slotted me in. I'm going to be signing babies' foreheads. Swing by the booth, and say hi. Let us know where you're chiming in from. I think that little thing just popped across the bottom. I'm going through all the check boxes here, everybody. All right. Whoever is coming from the furthest, if you are on the North Pole, if you're on the south side of Mars, I want to know about it. Also, make sure that you ask questions in chat. My name is Brian Mendenhall. I don't know if I think I skipped right over that. I lead AWS Security Partner Strategy, but I am not alone, everybody. I am joined this morning by Chris Gebhardt, CISO at nClouds. Chris, if you're here, blink twice. There he is. Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. Chris, tell us about yourself.
Yes, hey, wait a minute. You used an acronym and you didn't get an acronym alert.
nClouds, the N.
No, you said CISO.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about
gotcha.
Acronym alert. So, tell us the rules, Chris. What's the deal with acronyms?
I've been told that if you use an acronym and you don't explain it, you get punished. So, yes, I'm the Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, for nClouds, oversee the security and compliance operations here for both our corporate and for our customers. So nClouds is an AWS Premier Partner. We have multiple operations. Security is just one. We have a huge AI practice. We have a big AI means artificial intelligence.
Nice.
Gotta go for the acronyms. We have a very big migration acceleration program, practice map program with AWS. We do a lot of work in there and helping customers get over to AWS. So yeah.
Perfect. And Chris, where are you joining us from?
So I am just south of Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay. Yep. Nice. We're covering the US here. I'm in San Diego. So we've got
coast to coast.
Love it. We got two sunny people, sunny places. I love it. Chris, so we've got a packed agenda this morning. We were just talking about it before the show started. So when it comes to AI, we're just going to dive right into AI, right? When it comes to AI, it's crazy. We talk to customers all the time on the security side, and they go, I don't know what my company is doing. We have people building stuff all over the place. Yeah, exactly. It's like the monkeys with the eyes, the ears. I don't know, don't want to know. Or they're just turning things off, right? So, where do we start? How do we start this journey, and how do we hopefully take the blinders off when it comes to AI security?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to another security person at a client, and I was like, hey, do you have an inventory of what AI tools you're using? And they were like, no, and I don't want to know, because as soon as I know, I have to take action. I was like, okay, I understand that. That's a position to have, but and here at nClouds, we asked ourselves the same question. And so we're about a 200-person company here, and we deployed a tool for endpoint protection, right? Thankfully, that tool goes out and does an inventory of all the software, all the websites, all the capabilities, and brings it into one location. When I pulled that up, asking the question, how many AI tools do we use? I was expecting, 200-person company, maybe 20 or 30. Do you want to guess how many?
I'm guessing more than 20 or 30. That's my guess.
135.
That's crazy.
AI or AI-enabled tools. It was just blew my mind. Blew our COO's mind as well. So, when you look at it that way, it's like, how can I get a handle on all of these, right? And where do I start? How do I go about it? And so, what was interesting is we asked ourselves that question and said, okay, how do we solve this problem, right? We know it's a problem. If we have it, other customers have it as well, right? How can we help them solve it? So we got a team together and started brainstorming. And ironically, You guys at AWS did the same thing and came out with, the AI framework, AI security framework. We came up with a framework called Easy. They actually parallel each other pretty well. So, when I look at it, when I saw and we didn't know that you guys were doing yours, you didn't know we were doing ours, right? We came out about the same time, and when I looked at it, I was like, well, here's two independent bodies that came to the same result. That must mean that this is the right pathway to go down.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, with Easy, we tried to make it into easy steps, right? Easy is the acronym. And so pull up that slide real quick, and we'll talk about what it looks like.
Love it.
Yeah, so easy is establish, assess, standardize, and have a yield. And the first thing, adopting AI is really simple. Companies don't have a problem adopting AI. Shadow AI is really easy. It's gaining, and I don't want to say control because I hate control. It's too strong of a word, right? It gets into that block and tackle mentality. And that's not what I'm about from a security compliance
Mhm.
perspective. I'm about taming, right? And getting it so that we have some level of control, but not the strict. No, you can't do this. And you know, getting in and the first step is really establishing your AI policy, right? And making sure you have an acceptable use policy. And that's not that hard to do. You can use AI to generate it, right? It's really good at generating policies when you give it the right prompts. There's model policies out there as well, but getting that out there, establishing that governance around AI first, the governance committee, says, okay, who are the people that are really impactful here in the organization? Who do we know right now today who's actually using AI the most, right? And that comes up.
Right.
We can see that, right? And say, okay, let's get those people together and let's talk about acceptable use policy for AI and get it out there. Teach everybody in the company, hey, this is what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. They'll be putting customer data into commercial AI or AI that is you have your personal account attached to rather than your corporate account. Just getting that knowledge out there is really the one of the first steps, one of the easiest steps to take in this whole process. And then comes the harder parts. Getting in and
Right.
finding out that inventory of, okay, what all tools are we using? What's out there? What are our people using? Do we have official? And do we know we have shadow AI? Right, that's a guarantee item. This is probably, I've been in this business a long time. We had shadow IT for the longest time. This is way bigger than
So,
shadow.
Chris, I got to ask you. So, when it comes to
Sure.
like 135 AI tools,
Yeah.
is this like what are we talking about here? Is this going to be like you've got ChatGPT fired up with Claude, but you've also got? Does this also include like, hey, my laptop has Siri with AI, and like my firewalls now have some AI capabilities? I mean, like, what is the breadth of what we're talking about when it comes to like inventorying these types of things?
Yes, all of those. Think about it like if organizations use Salesforce, Salesforce has AI built into it, right? We have to identify that because we want to make
Right.
sure that we have corporate agreements in place with all of these tools. So it's not just the typical, we call them pure play Claude, right? Anthropic.
Right.
No, it's all of these tools that have it embedded inside it that are important to get a handle on as well. Because your data, your intimate data is in those tools. We want to make sure we have agreements with those companies as to what they can do with our data, which in some cases is customer data too, right? And we have some requirements from customers say what you can and can't do with AI. So yeah, getting a handle on the pure plays as well as the embedded is really the hardest thing to do. And
Yeah.
I have
And
I have
this is this
135 tools I have to go through. I'm like,
does this come back to kind of like pieces of like vendor management and governance as well, where you're like, hey, like potential supply chain attacks or like attack surface management, like kind of throwing a lot of big security concepts out there. But now it's not just like the AI security bucket is over here. And we just manage this like its own thing. But now it's like, wait a minute, now we're starting to talk about some more traditional security controls. Like we've had attack surface management for years now. So like now are we starting to like pull AI security into realm of things like that we know and are familiar with?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It does introduce a whole new layer to third-party risk management. Right. Being able to
Right.
it's not only security, it's compliance as well. Right. It's both of these things. We have to make sure that the AI is secure, it doesn't do bad things, but we also have to make sure that it's compliant to whatever frameworks we buy into, but also compliant with our beliefs in what it can and can't do, right? And then by that I mean what it can absorb about our data. What can it train the model on our data? If it's our model, then great, and highly recommend something like that, right? And let's really capitalize on the power of AI and train it on our data, but make sure it's our model. We don't want to train a
Absolutely.
commercial model. That's where
Yeah.
the compliance side comes into it. So yeah,
Chris, there's an absolute zinger of a question in chat that I want to, if our producers
sure.
can cue this up. It's from, it looks like Jim Huddleston, 4167. Sometimes it's difficult to know what tools have AI capability if there's a new feature, which is such a great, like, how do you know if somewhere on the back end there's a robot making decisions versus your traditional controls or traditional like enterprise level tools? Like, how do you know?
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to know. And it really depends on how deeply embedded it is into the tool set. So that's where, the third party risk management, that new layer comes up of adding to your third party risk management questionnaire, right? What AI are you using, right?
Yeah.
To help find out. There are some independent tools now that are coming out that will actually monitor what's going on the endpoint, including in the browser as well as the software, and determine, hey, these are the tools that have AI embedded in it. We know, right? So, for example, if it sees Salesforce, it knows Salesforce has the AI, so it automatically labels it as an AI-enabled tool, right? Office 365, we know Copilot is in there, right? So it automatically labels that as an AI-enabled tool. So that
Mhm.
gives you some help. So there is help out there. There's other vendors that are doing this as well. So I won't go into the specific vendors, but just recognize they are out there. Utilize them. It will make your life easier, but harder, right? It's going to make it easier because you're going to be able to find all these AI tools. It's going to make it harder because you found all these AI tools.
For
Like
sure.
now,
Yeah.
just for.
And like
But yeah,
just kind of like all over the place here, Chris. But this to me, the first thing that pops up is kind of this like culture of security, right? Where if you are enabling and creating a culture of security across your enterprise, then your ERP, enterprise resource, what is it? Planning program people,
but,
people, process, and procedures. Those guys, if they are a part of your culture of security, then then they're gonna let you guys know, like the security team know, hey, my my ERP system has some AI capabilities and we need to make sure that this is within compliance and governance and everything else. So it's not just it's not just like a technology inventory system. It's also the people kind of self-reporting as well, right? You have to have that culture of security as a part of that.
yeah, absolutely. And so there's two flavors there. The one is you have existing tools. AI came out of nowhere, it feels like, right? I mean, it's been around for a while, but all of a sudden it feels like this only happened in the last 24 months and it took off like wildfire. So you have existing tool set that you maybe did your third party risk management when you onboarded them and you haven't done it since, or maybe it's been too recent, right? But it's got that window of, oh, we didn't check for AI because we weren't asking those questions at the time. But then you have new onboarding vendors. So you're bringing in a new tool. That's got to be exactly one of those questions you have to ask that vendor is, are you using AI? How are you using it? Are you training your model on our data? Yada, 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 and go through. It really does. It creates that whole new layer of TPRM. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. I love that proactive approach. So we've done the assessment, like we have some sort of inventory, and then the next stage of this, and I think your background is absolutely on point, because what do you do? Walled garden, right? Or in your case, brick wall behind you. It could be walled garden, brick wall. We're not sure. But Chris, what do you do once you have your inventory of like all the AI goodies across the business?
Yeah, walled garden sounds so much nicer. It's more flowery. It's still a
Yeah.
brick wall, but it's like it's pleasurable. Yeah, so now it's like, okay, we've for example, like what we've done, we have 135 tools in here. Now we go through and we're doing a couple of things. One is we're including all of our staff. We're sending out surveys. Hey, what AI tools do you use during the day? Here's a list of, we looked and identified the top 25 tools that are out there, basically the ones that are used the most, right? And said, outside of these top 25, what other tools would your work life be decimated by if we were to block access to this tool, right? And so now we're trying to get an understanding of how people are using AI in their day-to-day work life. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back, and this is where the easy comes in, is now we're going to start standardizing and say, you know what, we're going to say you can use, we're a Google Workspace company, so you can use Gemini. We have an agreement. You can use Claude. You can use Anthropic, right? Because we have corporate agreements with them. Now, for the tools that we don't necessarily have, we need to identify, do we want to use them? Do we want to go out and get a corporate agreement? And that's one of the other things to stress to staff is use your work accounts. You should not be doing anything in your personal account, right? Yeah, you can log into Claude with your personal account, but keep that totally separate, right? Just like you shouldn't do your personal banking on your work laptop, you shouldn't be using your personal account for company business, right? It's bad juju for sure.
So let's pull on that thread, Chris. Yeah, pulling that thread, because when ChatGPT first came out, my brother-in-law was like, you're not going to believe it. Like, I'm so much more productive at work. I'm building PowerPoints with for customer, health of the business in my personal ChatGPT OpenAI account. And now I'm sipping pina coladas on the beach half the day, because I only work half. I'm like, that's terrifying. From a security standpoint, that's called a breach. You've had a security incident every time you've done that. Please stop. And then so it's hard because the opportunity for the business to use AI tools is so great that we as a security team cannot be a decelerator for the business and those opportunities, right? We have to be an accelerator. We have to come alongside and say, we want to speed up adoption through secure use of AI and make sure. And so what does that look like? Maybe we create corporate accounts for ChatGPT or whatever else it is that's being used. I guess that's part of the assessment phase, right?
It is. That's part of the assessment. That's part of the streamlining too. It's like, okay, now we have to go in and get these corporate agreements put in place to make sure that we don't have train the model turned on, right? And train on our prompts and all that fun stuff. And so and you're right. We can't be the block and tackle people because AI is just too powerful of a workplace tool, right? It's definitely a revolution that we've seen in our lives. The internet was probably the last evolution. Now we're seeing AI as a complete evolution and way faster than the internet ever was. And so
absolutely,
we definitely have to be cooperative in this environment from a security and a compliance perspective. Recognize that it's not going away. It's just going to get more and more embedded. And we, as a security compliance team, we need to get in there and help manage it, right?
100%. So, and there's a comment in chat, Chris. It says, "Eat your security vegetables, no personal account."
I love that one. I saw that. That was great.
It's so great. And I've been hearing this a lot over the last. I mean, it's been around, but I've been hearing even more over the last 3 to 4 weeks of eat your security vegetables. Let's start with the foundations. And so I think in March, our team at AWS launched an AI security framework that breaks down AI workloads into really, really fundamental compute pieces, like the network layer. We know how to secure networks. We know how to secure data. So Chris, as we bring in our security vegetables, but we want the dessert, how do we move through traditional security controls and traditional security best practices and apply those to AI utilization in order to get that sweet, what is it going to be? What is your favorite? First of all, what is your favorite dessert? Are you a dessert guy? What do you like to eat for dessert?
I usually eat too much to begin with, so I don't get to dessert often.
You skip
Let's go
it?
with ice cream. Let's go with ice cream.
Classic.
Everybody loves
I
it.
also, my favorite dessert is going to be prime rib. With like maybe some mashed potatoes. That's what I'm talking about. Meat and potatoes, baby. So,
Yeah.
so back to my question before I got wildly distracted by myself is is how do we bring in traditional security controls, merge that with like our governance so that we can utilize AI securely?
Yeah, I think the most effective way to do it without having an entire new team, right? The AI security compliance team really is through third party tooling, right? You can't do this alone. You just can't. You have to have third party tooling in there. Like I said earlier, there's some great tools out there that have emerged as startups that recognize the security and compliance issue with AI and have generated some decent software that goes out, sits on the endpoint, sits on your network, and identifies all that. You have to start there. You have to get some relationship in place with those tools to make your life easier. If you go about it without a tool, you're going to miss a lot. You're going to miss a tremendous amount. Um, and I mean, let's face it, from our team, right, our security and compliance teams, this is this just hit us right across the face, right? I mean, this was
Mm-hmm.
just, we did not see this coming. We were not prepared for it, and it hit way too fast. So we're behind the curve, and now we need to catch up. And the fastest way to catch up is through some third party tools. But make sure you
Right.
check those third party tools to see what AI they're using.
Yeah, exactly.
Tool.
Right. And we are seeing governance, risk, and compliance GRC tools that are using AI, which is
Yes.
great. And Jim, I think had another great point, like not merging but integrating, right? Making sure that if you're using a governance, risk, and compliance tool, whether it has AI or not, that it's integrating with your security controls and it has the visibility that it needs to be able to take action and make assessments and go forward, right? And like at the beginning, Chris, when you were talking about like putting your head in the sand, my 15-year-old, hopefully he's already at school. It's finals week, right? If you've got kids, it's the end of the school year. And so natural parent question, hey buddy, how are your grades? Like me, this or that, or I'm not exactly sure. Making sure that we're bringing these up, and that we're assessing, and that we're bringing in our governance, risk, and compliance tools. The tool sets are all working together, making sure that maybe there's even an integration practice, right? That brings together like tools that talk to each other, that work together, and teams within your organization that are talking and working with each other as well. So,
Yeah, I think
I think
for
that's a
me,
great point.
the biggest area actually is people, right? That is
Mm.
the technology is generally the easy part, right? Zeros and ones. We can write scripts and do all sorts of fun stuff around technologies to people, and reaching the people is really important, especially when AI is so addictive because it makes you so
Hmm.
much more productive when used correctly. That's a people problem, and we need to really talk to our people about what are the risks around AI, what are the acceptable practices, what shouldn't you do with AI. If you have a question, come to us. Let us help you
Hmm.
around that. But really, every chance I get in our all hands, I always have something to talk about with AI. It's like just get it out there, get the conversation going, let it sink in, right? You can't just say once, hey, here's how you use AI, and then never talk about it again. It doesn't sink in, right? You just have to watch, rinse, repeat, watch, rinse, repeat to get it into people's heads. But the way I like to do that with them is talk about the corporate basis, but also talk about their personal lives, right? And we call it security hygiene. So, we all take showers before we come to work. Well, I want them to have that same hygiene from a security perspective. So I talk to them about their personal bank accounts. I talk to them about using AI in their personal lives, what they should and shouldn't put in there, right? Don't put your home address in there and ask for, map paths and all this fun stuff. Make sure you go into the settings and you turn off train on my data, right? And that's going to help
Right.
you in your personal space, right? And so once I have that, people will do things a lot faster for themselves than they will for work. And so if they're
Yeah.
doing it for themselves, they're going to bring that to work. And that's where it bleeds over perfectly. So really get them and help them understand where it impacts them personally.
Right. And as security practitioners that are watching this right now, I feel like there's a gold star to be gotten from the security team to say, hey, we help to accelerate the adoption of AI across the entire enterprise by maybe we even automatically configured and checked the do not train on my data boxes. So like we went through, we automated configurations across the board for commonly used AI tools, and now adoption has spiked and increased. And beyond that, it's safe adoption, right? Because like Janice in accounting, poor Janice, we're always talking about, someone spoof called her. She gave away her password, but we didn't know that Janice had created a couple of bots to do reports that are over permissive, that are long lived. And now those bots have been compromised and they're running reports and sending them out to known bad geolocations, right? So like we can help with some of these things by having the governance, by enforcing some of the rules and policy. But then where do we go from there, Chris? Like it's not a one-time thing, right? There's like continuous compliance. How does that tie in? How do we tie the bow with the shoelaces to make sure that we're walking down the street? That was a rad analogy. That was so good. How do we do continuous compliance?
Yeah, it is a wash, rinse, repeat cycle, right? Just because you've done this once and you've locked down your environment, you put up that walled garden around AI tools that are acceptable to the company, and then ruled out the rest of the AI tools that are outside the walled garden. New tools come up every day. And so this is a constantly repeatable process where you do have to take that inventory, maybe on a quarterly basis, to find out, okay, is there something new that's creeping up? Even if you hear of a new tool from a Facebook ad or something like that, right? It's time to go searching for that. They you always say in the compliance space, don't waste somebody else's breach, right? meaning, hey, this company got breached. Can it happen here? Right. So same thing. Right. If you're on LinkedIn, all of a sudden you see a new tool that talks about AI, you should be checking your organization to see if you have it, if anyone's using it inside of your organization. Be proactive on this. But then every quarter or so, go out and redo that inventory, find out what's going on, and go through that same process. It just constantly repeats. So yeah, security and compliance has been complaining for years that we're not funded enough and we got too much to do. Well, here's another one.
Yeah,
we'll handle this. And by the way,
I mean, we've been talking about the cyber skills gap, right? My kids all the time, when we were playing Fortnite last night and they told me I had a skills gap. I don't appreciate that. But we've been saying cyber skills gap for a long time. And now with AI, I feel like our overlords are saying that's not an excuse anymore. Like we gave you the robots to help, subsidize what needs to be done. And so, I just wonder, like, are we as practitioners, if it's cybersecurity, if it's governance, if it's all of these things put together, are we using AI the right way to govern AI, to secure AI, to have that continuous compliance of AI? I guess, that's the question is, and are there tools out there that will do that can make our lives easier? Or is this something that we need to build?
Yeah, they're out there. They're certainly out there. I know of about a dozen already. By the way, there's a QR code up in the corner if you want to get a copy of the easy white paper. Scan the where is it? Up there. So perfect. Yeah, there's tools out there. Cool.
Awesome. Chris, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure, my friend. nClouds, and I really appreciate the conversation around how we secure and govern AI security. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're watching, stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome to Security Live. My name is Brian Mendenhall. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to talk about all things security with AWS security partners. You want to talk about AI? You want to talk about penetration testing, zero trust, quantum? I don't know. We may not talk about it. We've got just about everything that you want to talk about. Join us. Oh yeah, where's everyone joining from? Let's talk about that first. Put it in chat. If you're helping Santa on the North Pole in June, get ready for Christmas or whatever it is. I want to hear about it. Let me know. Make sure you ask questions in chat. My name is Brian Mendenhall. I lead AWS Security Partner Strategy over here. We're here every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific. We got a bunch of other live stuff coming up. We're going to be at the AWS Partner Summit in New York in like 2 weeks. Swing by, say hi. I will also be at Black Hat signing babies' foreheads. I think there's a time slot that my producers have set aside for me to sign babies' foreheads. Come hang out. Swing by, say hi. We'll give you a hot high five. Boom. All right. Moving on. I am not alone. I mean, I'm alone because I don't have my co-host, Orsi, Verma, Sarah. Where are you guys at? I don't appreciate being left alone. I get to say whatever I want. That part's pretty cool. But I am here to Hot Mesa, dude, 100%. Like, thoughts and prayers, okay? I am not alone. I'm here with Jessica Hale, director at PwC. Jessica, are you alive?
I am alive. There was a scare right before our segment where my internet cut out. So, like all natural people, I was panicking. I'm here.
Perfect.
Yes.
It looks like it's working great now. Like,
awesome.
Perfect. I think we're good to go. We're all set. Thank you so much for joining, Jessica. Tell me a little bit about what you do at PwC.
Yeah, I identify more as an application security and DevSecOps practitioner. So I think you've caught me at a very good time. I've progressed through all 5 stages of grief in regards to AI and how that's changing my industry, my field, everything I do day in and day out. I think I went to depression and anger pretty quickly. I think I was trying to reject AI, saying like, code is code is code. I don't care if a human writes it or a bot writes it. And, you know, AI's agents are just RPA with some extra steps and stuff. But I think I've finally come around to the acceptance stage. I see the potential. I see the opportunity. I'm really excited to be here. So
nice. Well, thank you for joining. And like preparing for this, we had just, I think, one of the best conversations ever. And it started with, we don't know, like put in chat because Jessica and I still haven't figured this out. Do you say mythos, mythos, something else that I can't imagine? I don't know how you say this. I say mythos. Jessica, like, how do you say it?
I say mythos. I've heard mythos. I've heard mythos. I've heard mythos. No one has corrected each other in like the 2 or 3 months since the event happened. So to prepare for this session, I looked up what Dario Amodei says, because if anyone should know, he's the guy who made it, right? He says mythos. So I'm just going to put that out on the record. Problem solved. I feel great about that because I don't have to change my habits, but I don't think anyone knew for quite a while.
Yeah. That's amazing. And put in chat, let's vote in chat, okay?
Yeah.
1 for mythos, 2 for mythos, and 3 for mythos, okay? And so put that in chat. We're going to take a quick poll, and we're going to see what everybody else says. I'm with you, but, you know, I think the takeaway here, Jessica, is come up with a name that no one can pronounce, a name that can be pronounced 1,000 ways. It's a absolute marketing genius move.
Absolutely. It has everyone talking. And as an AppSec or DevSecOps practitioner, it's really all I hear about these days. So.
Yes, exactly. So like, what does this change, right? What has changed since the announcement that's come out, and how does the world look now?
I think I'm here with most people. I don't know if mythos is is completely real. There's definitely things that are real about it. Like we have other partners as well who have access to it. And so we are seeing benchmarks and great results coming out of that. At the end of the day, even if it doesn't do everything it says it does, the thing after mythos will, or the 2 things after mythos will. So I think the future and the eventuality that it promises is real and it's coming fast. So in terms of what is changing today, I think everyone is trying to figure that out right at the same time. It's breaking things for sure. And it's forcing us to take a hard look at ourselves, at processes we've been claiming have been automated to date. I think a lot of companies say they have DevOps today, and a lot of that's true, but I think it to date has relied on humans still being involved. And with the emergence of semi-autonomous or autonomous development, we're kind of seeing the cracks start to show. So
right. So like all these things that we've had within security practice that have been traditionally like human powered practices or exercises or things like that, are we starting to see some of those human powered practices collapse into AI powered tools?
Yeah, it's funny. The first thing to break was actually kind of collapsing before Mythos happened. If you think about all the infrastructure, the federal national infrastructure around maintaining vulnerability databases, we're not doing a great job keeping up with that. I think there was a backlog as of March 2026 of like 300,000 new CVEs that hadn't been enriched yet. And again, not Mythos related, right? I think there's some stat out there I saw that says there's 135 new CVEs being published a day. The government can't keep up. I think they announced maybe a month ago that they're really only going to start enriching CVEs that impact federal agencies or software vendors to those federal agencies. And at the end of the day, that's really only going to account for about 15 to 20% of CVEs going forward. So that has been kind of been strained for a long time. I think Mythos kind of exacerbated the problem to the point where it did not collapse, but some trade-offs had to be made. But some other things that are kind of happening as a result of that is like our detection technologies, our triage, our prioritization technologies, our remediation processes, like all of those are coming under scrutiny as well. So it's been wild to witness that live in real time.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And I also wonder, like, looking at the forest through the trees, is we've gone through this transition of like, hey, AI's here, like 3 or 4 years ago. It's like, I can chat with a robot and like, how are you to tell me a joke, right? And then we moved into like, well, I can actually use some of that power in my security estate and in my tools. And it's like they're traditional tools. Like I still have my endpoints, I still have my vulnerability management, I still have these traditional security controls. Are we starting to see a shift towards actually rethinking some of the traditional security use cases, categories, tool sets, where like we're on the horizon of like actually things are going to be different? Like we need to reimagine how some of these things work and how some of these things come together. This is just one use case.
Yeah.
Are we there, or like am I dreaming here?
We're there, but I would say we're probably at the tip of the spear. One consequence that comes from CVEs not being enriched for the majority going forward is that there won't be severity scores or mapped product information for a lot of the net new vulnerabilities being published. IDs will still be there, but perhaps not the security research unless someone specifically submits a request for NIST to enhance that. What that kind of culminates in is the detection technologies we've relied on to date. And it's not just AppSec. That's certainly the area I'm most concerned with. So any static code security scanning tools for sure, but that also impacts like endpoint detection and response. It also impacts dynamic scanning tools like network vulnerability scanners. Like all of those technologies rely on this rich metadata being available for them to reference as they find these vulnerabilities and exploits in their customers' environments. So at this point, we're at this pivotal moment where everyone is kind of in this standoff with their vendors. Like, what are you doing about this? And are you doing it fast enough to where we're comfortable we can keep continuing our partnership with you? Or do we have to look at potentially turning to AI and LLMs to augment some of these capabilities? So.
Right, absolutely. And our producer poking me with the stick in the background. You can't see her, she's just off screen with one of those acronym alerts. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. Anything that is not common knowledge, we want to make sure we enunciate. And so like I guess they'll throw the banner out there, and I've already gotten pinged for this. So just a heads up. But one of the things I guess that's super interesting is rethinking traditional vulnerability management, right? And almost like the evolution of it, because when we had the list of 10 gazillion CVEs or common vulnerability exploits, whatever it is, critical vulnerabilities. So like we have these massive reports that tools used to spit out, but you then had to like classify this, right? You had to say, well, of these vulnerabilities, these are the ones with exploits. These are the ones that are in production workloads. These are the ones that are around sensitive data. These are the ones that are like, have compensating controls. There was a lot of work that you had to do with that. And now we're moving more towards like a pen test model, which is attack path, right? Do you think that vulnerability management, as it's always been, is going to be around for much longer? Or is this something that's going to evolve into, like, we won't talk about that anymore? We're going to go this other direction.
It will
just
still be around.
Hide it.
It'll still be around. I think it's going to look very different 6 months from now and even a year from now. I don't think the problems that underlie the need to triage and prioritize vulnerabilities is going away. We still want to focus on the assets that mean the most to our organization. We still want to focus really only on the vulnerabilities that are exploitable. That was a problem before AI got here. It's going to continue to be a problem after AI is here, especially with the code bloat and open source software packages these days. And then the challenges around why we do or do not remediate vulnerabilities hasn't gone away. I think maybe 3-4 years ago, I saw the average vulnerability backlog at a Fortune 500 company was 1.1 million vulnerabilities. It's not because developers don't want to fix them. I think every developer really wants to do right by their organization and fix security issues the same way they would fix bugs. But especially as like open source software and packages and dependencies are used, the consequences of upgrading them have cascading effects across your application for sure, but across your network and ecosystem. There's compatibility issues to contend with. There's integration issues to contend with. There's breaking changes to contend with. Like there's all these barriers here that pre-existed AI, pre-existed Mythos. I think these AI accelerations are kind of pointing out those fundamental critical path like blockers that we need to really focus on to make sure we can stay not relevant, but stay productive in the age of AI. So
I 100% agree. And like I came from an industrial control system, ICS background, where patching was wildly complex. You've got a device on the shop floor that's running Windows 98 because the producer of that machine went out of business 20 years ago. Good luck patching that, right? Like, what are you going to do? So totally agree. And I'm curious, all these new capabilities coming out, where do we start in the short term, right? We're talking about like the potential roadmap for the future, but what do we do today with capabilities in our security environment that we should be focusing on?
Yeah, I think that's where I have some good news. I'm very lucky. I get to work with a lot of very innovative and forward-thinking companies, especially in the Fortune 100, where they have big budgets and a lot of motivation to fix these problems early. So I'm kind of seeing 4 different types of solutions emerge, and I'm happy to talk through each of them. But is there any particular place you'd want me to start?
Wherever you want to begin. Let's go down the road. Yes. Let's start our journey together.
So I think if we're kind of going in the order of vuln ops or software development lifecycle, I think a lot of my clients are talking to me about how do I continue detecting vulnerabilities where in a future where the infrastructure may not support all of the metadata or the information I need to do it with the tools I have today, right? So we are seeing an emergence across all industries, across mostly large size companies, but this is something a medium and small company can take advantage of as well. I'm seeing rapid adoption of LLM code review capabilities. And it's not as much about setting up the plumbing or the workflow itself. That's the hard part. It's making sure you're setting the right parameters, the right prompts. You're making sure you're checking for accuracy. There's a lot of open source benchmarks that you can use that are the same fidelity benchmarks that our code scanning tools use today, right? To make sure you're building a capability that is capable of finding vulnerabilities without relying on vulnerability identifiers that we have relied on today. And we're seeing great results already with non-frontier models. So even with models like Claude Sonnet 4.6, right, we're seeing vulnerability catch rates of 96%. We are seeing vulnerability verdicts of accuracy of about like 98 to 99%, depending on the vulnerability class. It's something that there's a lot of potential in. It's something that we were really surprised how accurate it was so quickly. So that's the first thing we're seeing. The next thing we're seeing is a refocus on exploitability analysis. A lot of tools that we have today already do this. They come out with insights on reachability, whether that's like in memory or like stack trace or whatever. But we're also seeing that being incorporated into these like asset graphs or attack surface graphs. Like I think you said something earlier about triage goes back to like exploits and attack paths. Like we're really seeing that become more prevalent in how vulnerabilities are triaged even in the SDLC. The next problem we're seeing, and this is kind of unique because I don't know if this relies as much on developers, but we are seeing non-developers, think business stakeholders, marketing, finance, right? They're starting to vibe code their own applications in these low-code, no-code platforms, which is great. Like these apps are good at functionality.
These are my people.
Experience. Yep. Maybe not resiliency, maybe not performance, definitely not security at the end of the day. So these apps are and code bases are kind of being handed over to development teams for maintenance rather than for feature development, which is a crazy shift in paradigm. So
I've seen, and Jessica, on that note, like I have a buddy that works for a large software company. I won't mention. Yeah. They spun up an entire team within the business just to clean up AI vibe code slop. So like you've got these people like myself, BDs and sales, like talkers that are like, I need this thing. I'm just going to go vibe code this. Like I'm going to fire up Kiro, blah, blah, boom, boom, boom. And then it does it. And we don't know how it was made or what it exactly does under the hood. There's a whole team at this particular company that catches that and goes, oh my God, what have you given me? This is like 10 million lines of nonsense. And they go to fix it. So, maybe not best practice, but I think to your point, like that business, the opportunity that presents to the business people is so great that it's happening, whether we like it or not. So I think that's a solid call out.
Yeah, and your point about there's this whole team dedicated to it. I am seeing like the hiring numbers for software engineers and developers kind of go up in the last few months too. So maybe those two things are related. I guess the third use case I'm seeing, which kind of goes to this specifically, is that we want to be able to receive these applications because perhaps the stakeholders having a huge part in the design of the app is a good thing, right? But we want to make sure that we're testing it appropriately, not just for security, but other non-functional paradigms as well. So we are seeing solutions being built that can infer the business logic of an application and start to generate comprehensive test suites against it. So at least if developers are going to be maintaining these apps going forward, they will have a good understanding of how it will perform in production and whether or not it's introducing risk to the environment. And then, of course, the last thing, which funny enough is the first thing people think of, is how do we automate remediation in a way that can compete with the pace of potentially exponential vulnerability discovery. So those are kind of the four things I'm seeing in the AppSec space.
Absolutely. And on that last one, so hard plug really quickly, AWS Security Agent, frontier model, penetration testing, all that stuff. Won't get into that. But one of the stats that we saw recently, I saw come across my desk in the context of that AWS service is your penetration test took 6 weeks and bad actors are, it's like an average of 47 seconds for them to identify a vulnerability, an exploitable vulnerability, determine an attack path, plan out their entire attack, right? Look at like the cyber kill chain, like the reconnaissance piece of this, and gain access 47 seconds versus your pen test that took 6 weeks. And like, that's a hard Mythos plug and security agent plug, like for where things are going. But I think the need kind of presents itself, right? Is that this is kind of a reality, is that the bad guys, bad actors out there do have some of these advanced tools that they're using when they, make their attacks. So I don't know. Yeah. So I'm curious. Yeah. Just all over the place here, but, I think we talked about kind of prepping for this. eating your security vegetables, which we like just talked about
Yeah.
before this. And so because we all want dessert. I love dessert, prime rib. What is your favorite dessert, by the way, before we go any further?
I'm a cookies kind of person, like snickerdoodle cookies, cinnamon, sugar. Yeah.
I love that. Like chocolate chip, we'll like set that to the side. Snickerdoodle, come on over.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mhm.
So what would you say are some, and we've talked about vulnerability management, we talked about attack surface management, we've talked about DevSecOps, we've covered a lot of ground already. What are some of the practices that you would say, like, hey, if you're watching this, make sure that before you jump into that, you've got to have the foundation of your house built with your security vegetables? I'm mixing analogies, but where do we go? Where do we start?
Yeah, I think what surprises my clients the most when I talk about security guardrails for agentic development models, whatever that may be, whether you're vibe coding or whether you're using AI augmented assistance in your workflow, is that the controls themselves haven't changed. They're things we should have been doing the whole time, even when humans were the ones writing code and packaging up software. So I'll kind of give an example. It's like best practice, especially, if you're tracking DORA metrics, this will be familiar to you. But the smaller the code change you make, the less likely you are to introduce breaking changes for sure, but also the less likely you are to produce vulnerable code or bugs, right? That's just like a theme that everyone kind of knows and has been pushing as good practice. That doesn't change when AI is writing code. If you can put in like carefully crafted ceilings that are in context of your ecosystem and software delivery needs to limit how much code is changed at a time by AI, you're still going to be seeing those benefits. So when we talk about security guardrails and agentic development, we're talking about the code and development hygiene that we want human developers to adopt as well. So think attribution of any actions that are taken in a pipeline or changes that are made to code. We're talking about segregation of duties. So ideally, we would like developers not approving their own code. We probably don't want the same agent who wrote the code to be approving its own PR, right? So I think that's the good news, is that we're not inventing this whole new field with all these new buzzwords, all these new acronyms. I think it's the good hygiene we're doing today is become ever more imperative to implement. And that's exciting to me. So.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. So it's such a mixture of the last conversation we had, and this is the second time you mentioned it, is like governance for AI code development, right? Is what we're talking about. Like this is what good utilization of AI for code development should look like from a security best practices standpoint. So, I guess another thing that we talked about along these lines is AI is getting better. Shouldn't security for AI developed code be getting better too?
It should in theory. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that. And I'm saying this from a place of authority, but I collated some research and industry benchmarks over the last 4 years across dozens of sources that have been studying the quality of AI generated code over time. So what we are seeing is that like quality regressions and bugs and like correctness issues in code is getting better, and it's rapidly competing with and approaching like the quality that humans deliver, which is great. What has been kind of baffling me to date is that we haven't seen a significant improvement in the security of code that's generated by AI in the last 4 years. And there's probably a multitude of reasons for that. One reason probably comes back to like how you train your LLMs. So if you're using legacy code to train your LLMs, it might propagate some of the mistakes that you were making earlier. There's also how your AI models work. So I think we saw a stat somewhere that LLMs today are using insecure methods to write code in like 45% of cases. So there's some like design issues there as well. But I think what's most important, because I think eventually those things will get fixed and go away. At the end of the day, AI is kind of like a human. It interprets a goal and tries to go through any means to get to that goal. So I think a lot of security hygiene in the future is going to be focused around incentivizing AI to do the right thing, just as you would want to incentivize humans. So if you have an AI coding assistant or agent whose goal is to ship code as fast as possible, they may interpret that in ways that may bypass security or deceive security in order to reach that objective, unless they're explicitly blocked or confined in other ways. And I'll give an example. It's a scary one, but we have seen some common AI coding agents start to produce code in response to vulnerability reports that they've received, where they modify the code in a way that is no longer detectable by vulnerability scanners, but did not fix the security issue upon a manual code review. So it's all about incentives at the end of the day. Their job is to get their build to succeed.
Amazing. I've got a folder on my desktop called AI Snacks. And it's actually like inputs, like data inputs, like immutable data sources that it can't change. I think we're talking about something else though. Like, hey, you did great. Like growing up, going to SeaWorld in San Diego, like you did the trick. Here's a fish. You've earned a snack. You've earned a gold star. You've earned something. How do you incentivize AI for doing good things?
There's probably a multitude of ways to do it as well. Like, I'm not pretending I'm the expert in this scenario. We're seeing new methodologies come out all the time. One paradigm that's coming out that I'm learning about right now that I'm very interested in is spec-driven development. So making sure that you are able to use natural language for security standards to always inform and be continuously available to coding agents as they deliver code. There's that. We're also seeing, again, some of those more confining guardrails that maybe put parameters around like what is considered a successful build. So of course you can make sure that if vulnerabilities are present, you did not achieve your software delivery objective. There are a variety of ways to go about it. And I'm excited to see if it's a combination of these techniques, if one kind of plays out and kind of wins the game over time. It's really exciting. So.
Absolutely. And I wonder, if we have to go back to some of the LLM, the large language model like creators like Anthropic and OpenAI and say, hey, this is something that we need. Like when you create these tools, the security has to be built in there. Like we've seen the increase in quality. We know you can do that, but we also need the security to be part of this built in from the very start. Otherwise, we're going to have to bring in another tool. It's probably going to be like an AI powered code scanner for security in order, like it should all just be in one box, right? Like let's not make more boxes. Let's build a better box.
Yes.
Jessica, I've got one more question for you before we go. You've got books. I've got books. What are you reading right now? What is what is your favorite book that you've read this year? You can choose.
My favorite book is a biography on Catherine the Great of Russia. If y'all are Game of Thrones fans, I think the character Sansa Stark was based off of her life.
Wow.
And that's kind of like a teaser, but you really need to find out more about Catherine. She was essentially forced to be married to a guy she didn't like. She was kind of sequestered, prevented from gaining allies and all that stuff. And then she eventually overthrows her husband, who was the Tsar of Russia, and then actually it reigns over Russia for decades and becomes like a huge power player in Europe. So, but most of the book is about her childhood and adolescence and her figuring out how to gain influence in a court that wanted to keep her suppressed. So.
That's incredible. It's Game of Thrones in real life, IRL. I love that.
Well, that's an acronym. I'm just kidding.
You got me. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Join us here on Security Live every other Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific. We'll see you guys all next week or at the New York Summit in 2 weeks. We'll see you all soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, everyone.